give you a handheld kind of 360. You show what I'm looking at from here. It's hiked up some deep snow. That's a bit of a hike. See, the snow's getting deep, really dumped. And it's tough now. It's tough to get to a good spot with a view without going through a major hassle. Like to get a, to bust out the quad, get the ramps, clear out the shit out of my truck, load the quad up, and then try to go somewhere where I can get up to good view, but now there's too much snow. So I gotta get the sled in the truck, get that thing fired up, which I haven't yet, and then which I plan on doing because there's so many unreal places around here to show off and show to everybody. It's silly. So I just had to hike up a gated road and this huge boulder pile up here, and it's around knee-deep snow the whole way, on top of probably another foot or two of snow. So that's why I'm a little out of breath. So I'm gonna get right to it. Of course, I had to go away for 2 more days again. I'm on my way home, and the emails, people's knowledge and experiences just keep pouring in. It's non-stop. It's never gonna end. I've come to accept that fact. I think from reading some of the comments in that year-end video, there's a lot of people gaining knowledge, swapping knowledge, offering up knowledge, and a lot of people are coming to terms with what they saw, getting their sanity back. They know they're not alone, which is handy, and it's a good thing. So we'll keep this going. I catch my breath. Hello, Steve. I watch your videos, enjoy every single one of them. My name is Juan Rodriguez. I'm 51 years old. I migrated to the USA in the year of 1989. Now I live in Waco, Texas. My hometown's name is Campeche. My hometown's name is Campeche, Mexico. It's either Campeche or it's Campeche. C-A-M-P-E-C-H-E. Mexico in the Yucatan Peninsula. Here's my story. This is the first part. Back in the early 80s, my father started taking me hunting. He'd drive 2 hours south to the small town of Peach, P-I-C-H. From there, we would go off-road anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, sometimes even longer, deep in the jungle. We had a guide, a short guide that was the best bloodhound ever. He could trace a wounded animal like no other. His name in Spanish was Suncho, which means marshmallow. He told us a story about an old man that had a cornfield about 2 or 3 miles away from the town of Peach, Campeche, Mexico. One afternoon, as he was finishing and gathering his tools, ready to go home as sunset was getting closer, he lifted his eyes and saw this giant ape-like human-like walking towards him. He quickly grabbed a shotgun, the 16-gauge single shot, yes, the 16-gauge shotgun is very common in Mexico, and took a shot at him at about 20 or 30 yards. He hit the creature right on the chest, but didn't take him down. Nervous and shaking, he reloaded his shotgun, and when he shot him again, the Sasquatch was 2 to 3 yards away. He shot him right in the face, and as when he went down, he killed it. So the man took off running to town without stopping, and when he got to town, he told us the folks what happened, and he had a heart attack due to the impression that this caused on him and died right there. Well, the people from the town of Peach gathered together early in the morning and went to the cornfield to check the veracity of the story, and when they got there, the Sasquatch was laying on the ground dead. They went back scared and called the authorities. They told them, whoever they got a hold of, told them to stay put, and they'd be sending someone to check on the case. Between 2 hours, a helicopter showed up from the big city of Mérida, Yucatan, and a few Caucasian men got off and asked them the story and to take them to the site. They went, picked up the body, loaded the helicopter, were gone to never come back. The Sasquatch is about 9 to 10 feet tall, dark brown, hairy, but with a peculiar trace on it. His feet were backwards, so as if it was walking its tracks, or showing that it's walking one way, while in reality it's going the other way, so they named it in Spanish El Salta Patros. El Salta Patras. which means the one that walks backwards. This happened in the 70s. Our guy told us the story in the early 80s, and I was about 14 years old. How frickin' bizarre is this story? I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that detail. It'd be interesting to hear from somebody else if they had, right? Second part. Now, 2 years ago, 2019, fast forward about 37 years, and I went to visit the town of Peach. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, man. P-I-C-H. Peach? Peach? I'm going to keep going with pitch. Pitch. How's pitch sound? It's been about 31 years that I haven't visited the town and was wondering if our guide Suncho, Marshmallow, was still alive. To my surprise, we found him, and he told us his second story. Here it goes. As we stopped going hiking with him due to us moving to the U.S., we used to go every weekend in summertime. He said that one day, 3 doctors from the city of Mérida, Yucatan, Mexico, went to visit him because someone referred him to them as a great hunting guide. So he agreed to take them hunting. They were walking the jungle at night with their flashlights on their heads when they heard someone hollering deep in the woods and sounded as if someone was lost and was calling out for help. Hey! Hey! Sounded. So one of the doctors said, listen, someone is lost and hollering for help. The guide told them, do not try to call that back, that is not human. But the doctor insisted and argued and finally started hollering back at it. The screams were getting closer, and that's when they felt the presence. They got spooked out and didn't know what to do, so the guide told them, I told you guys not to holler back because that's not a human. It's the Saltra Patras, the one that walks backwards, or Sasquatch. As the hollers got closer, the men, being scared, asked the guide what they should do, and the guide told them, climb a tree as high as you can and shut up. When one shone his lamp about a block away, they saw the Sasquatch. They quickly climbed the trees and, turning their lamps off, they shut up and the hollering started to move away until it was gone. Well, guess what? They got down out of the trees and they quickly walked to the truck and drove back to town without saying a word and never went back again. Well, I was surprised to hear this 31 years later. Well, when we said goodbye, as we were driving back, my uncle took me, since he's a taxi. I paid him, and as we were about 1 hour away from the city of Campeche, Mexico, we spotted a fruit stand on the side of the road. We stopped to buy a watermelon, and as we were talking to the seller, he told us he was from Tabasco, Mexico. So my uncle asked him about Hacienda Entrance, a homestead, and the guy told him that way to your right is where the ones that walk backwards live at. We looked at each other, my uncle and me laughed, and the guy asked us why we were laughing. And we told him because we know them since like almost 40 years ago. They got closer to the big city nowadays. They exist. I'm a Christian. This is my theory. These are spirits, demons that can traverse from the spirit world to our realm, and sometimes we can spot them while they're materialized in our realm. This is the reason why they're watching you and can feel them, and you can feel them and sense them and even smell them. You'll think they're watching you from afar, but they're not. They're right close to you, watching your every single move, and sometimes they get caught in our realm and we see them. When they're in our realm, they're flesh and bones as we are. The reason why they can't be killed, but the speed they have is because they can jump from the spirit world to our realm back and forth. This is fascinating. They're out there. Keep up the good work, Steve. Blessings. Wow. Well, there you go. There's one of the first of, I don't think there's too many emails to come in from Mexico, right? What? That's definitely something for your head to wrap around. That detail. The feet were going backwards. Wow. That's weird. I seen a video a while back on some children, some third world country, I think, or I don't know where the country was, but I remember it showed some children whose feet were backwards. They were crippled that way. There's all sorts of deformities that go on in human beings, right? So, who knows? I mean, it's been, that sort of thing showed up in humans. No reason why it can't show up in these unknown beings too, right? That's a hell of a story. It sure is funny how when there's a report of these things getting dumped and killed, how fast those mysterious white guys show up and cart them away, isn't it? One day we'll find out. Oh great, I fogged up my glasses. Light's getting low, so you best get reading and not go into one of my babbling sessions. Hello Steve, my name is Dan. I live in upstate New York, just south of the Adirondack Park. I've been following your channel for over a year now. I enjoy the content and the way you approach life. I would consider myself familiar with the outdoors. I've been hiking and fishing and camping since grade school. I'm 47 now. You talk about believing in and supporting the community each of us live in. That is why I'm writing you. More specifically, I'm writing to support the gentleman who wrote to you about a sighting in Forestport, New York. When you're reading his email and mentioned Little Woodhull Creek, and Horton Road, my jaw dropped. I lived in Forestport back in the 90s. I know exactly where this sighting happened. My girlfriend and I had also had an experience that was hard to explain just a few miles from there. I was off of North Lake Road on the trail to Chub Pond. Chub Pond is about a 67-mile hike from the trailhead, and we were the only car there that day. Take note of that. It was late summer, and the first part of the trail takes you to a small bridge, a stone dam, about 2 miles in. It's a nice little spot where I like to pull out the pack rod, and fish the small pools of the creek for some native brookies. The fish aren't in any real size, but the colors are gorgeous and they're fun to catch. From there, the trail becomes overgrown and not well maintained. A few times we had to double back to find trail marker we missed just to maintain our heading. The forest is thick in places, with mostly hardwoods and pines and a lot of undergrowth. Not much elevation change though. Looking back, we both remembered how very quiet it was as we got deeper in and closer to the pond. No wind, no birds, no squirrels. We thought nothing of it at the time. When we reached the pond, there wasn't a single duck or Canada goose on it. That was a little weird too. We found a spot in the ferns, laid down a blanket, and had lunch. I remember thinking how eerie it was, but cool that we were the only people there. After lunch, I grabbed my pack rod and threw a line into the pond to see what I might be able to catch. My girlfriend brought her new tablet and was taking pics and trying out the camera on it. It was then we heard something in the brush, inside the tree line a ways, down the shore from us. It was coming in our direction. I motioned to her and we both went quiet, thinking we might finally see some wildlife, maybe she'd get a picture. As it got closer, I remember thinking it sounded like someone walking. The steps got closer, and for some reason, I was getting a very nervous and anxious feeling. It sounded like it was fairly large and on 2 feet, but we were clearly the only people on the trail that day. Also, it was approaching from a direction off trail that wasn't easy to navigate through. The steps got within maybe 20 yards, and I don't know why, but I was getting worried. It didn't feel right. I finally just blurted out, "Hello?" And immediately the walking stopped. No response. I called out again, "Hello?" And nothing. That was unnerving to say the least. We just stood there motionless for what seemed like an eternity, but no more steps, no more sounds, nothing. We decided at that point it was time to leave. We packed up and made our way back without incident. We never really saw anything. The brush was too thick, but we also never heard it retreat or change in that direction. It just stopped and that was it. Now, I'm not claiming what this could or could not have been. I'm just saying that it was a strange experience. Fact one, the forest was dead that day and we felt odd. Not so much like we were being watched, things just didn't feel right. Fact two, something on 2 feet was approaching us and didn't answer when I called out. Then it seemed to just disappear. I don't recall any strange smells, but it does seem to fit some characteristics of other stories on your channel. So, to the other gentleman from Forestport, you are not crazy. Weird shit happened out there. Thanks for sharing your story, because I know that maybe we are not crazy too. And thanks to you, Steve, for providing a format for this. Keep it up. You're making a difference, Dan. Alright. Well, thanks for that email, Dan. And you're making a difference too with sending in your email, and so is everybody else. So, it's a group effort, right? I mean, at this point in the game, I'm the messenger. That's all I am. But it's, we've definitely created a hub for knowledge, right? Man, I'm losing sunlight. What time it is here? Steve. Hi, Steve. I just watched your video, asked for some feedback on what I have learned from your channel this year. I have learned a lot, but to keep it short, I'll keep it to one thing. You have encouraged us on several occasions to just ask people, matter-of-factly, if they have ever had a Sasquatch encounter or anything like that. So I've started doing that. Good. That's good. I mean, I don't bring it up with everybody, but if I find out somebody has lived in the Pacific Northwest, or they have Native American ancestry, or they have spent a lot of time in the wilderness, I will ask them about it. Until recently, I've only gotten no's, oftentimes accompanied by a laugh. But last week I got a hit. I was talking with a coworker about trapping. He used to work as a government trapper. The thought occurred to me that he might be a likely candidate, so I asked if he'd ever seen a Sasquatch or anything like that. And as soon as I remembered that I had already asked him months ago. So he said, "Oh." So I said, "Oh, I already asked you that, didn't I?" He said, "Yeah, you did. I haven't seen one, but He then went on to tell me a story. While working as a trapper in North Dakota, he got a call one day from the state fish and game asking him to investigate the scene of an accident where some people reported they had hit a Sasquatch with their car. It was January and there was snow on the ground. He said in his investigation he could see where the hood of the car had been smashed in, and then he found the impression of the body where it landed in the snow, and he found some hairs. He found some hair on the road where the collision happened, and also retrieved some from the car. But he said that the really weird thing was that he could not find any tracks in the snow. Something had clearly landed there, but he looked and looked and he couldn't find any evidence that it had walked away. He filed his report and turned in the hair samples. He said that he took a lot of flack from his co-workers for not being able to find tracks. And he said the hairs were identified by Fish and Game as bear hair. Yeah, of course they were. He said he thought the hairs were too long to be bear hair. He showed me by holding his fingers apart how long they were, and I would say it was about 4 inches. Anyway, I thought you might want to get some feedback from people doing as he suggested and getting some results. I thought it was interesting that it took asking my coworker twice, even if accidentally, to let him know I was serious, or to somehow make him feel more comfortable about sharing that story. Thanks for doing what you're doing. I love your work. Okay, man, thanks for that email. And I wonder how many people have heard of that same story, or even possibly witnessed the same thing, which is definitely kind of alarming, right? I mean, it'd be a little odd to smash into some 8-foot-tall, 700-pound being, blow the hairs off of it, and then there's no tracks leaving the scene and it's gone. That'd be a little alarming. Good morning, Steve. I've been watching your videos for quite some time now, and I'm fascinated by a lot of your personal stories and stories from all over the country. I've been a believer of Bigfoot most of my adult life. I don't know why, but that's just me, I guess. I'm a highway construction inspector for the state of Arizona. I have traveled all over the state alone, with years of exploring the backcountry, and I have never seen a Bigfoot, nor have I seen tracks, or heard any of the strange noises people often associate with the big hairy man, but I was always believed they could be out there. In 2013, I was the lead inspector of a bridge project that spanned the Gila River on US 70 at Bailas on the San Carlos Indian Reservation. During this project, I believe I saw most every game animal that lives in this part of the country down on the river bottom at one point and time. Coyote, bear, deer, javelina, elk, and wolves. Yes, I saw wolves. Multiple times, even though they don't live in this area according to the effing Fish and Game. Typical. One day, toward the end of the project, after the new bridge had been completed, I believe it was late fall, maybe October or November, the contractor is working on the barrier wall and the guardrail transition that ties into the bridge barrier. At about 8 or 9 a.m., a man in a vehicle pulls over to the side of the road on the bridge where I'm standing. He gets out of the vehicle wearing a nice suit because he's on his way to work. He is a local tribal member. I say this after I finish my story. Most people will say it was just a drunk Indian, which is not the case. He was a well-dressed man going to work with no agenda. He gets out of the car and says to me, "Did you just see the Bigfoot standing in the river bottom below, where we were working?" Standing by the tree line. I had to say no, I didn't see it, but I often wished I could have seen it. I don't think the native man was making it up. Who often stops on the side of the road to ask construction worker if he'd just seen what he saw, the Sasquatch? The local tribe members have been reporting seeing a big black-haired man in the river bottom for years, and in other areas of reservation there are also a lot of sightings. Just not by members, but by the tribal law enforcement, and they have not been silent. There are many reports and news stories about their sightings. Anyway, have a great day, and thanks for the platform to tell our stories. Jason. Well, thank you for that story, Jason. I'm sure somebody's familiar with that area, without a doubt. And if there's been a lot of sightings around there, I almost guarantee you somebody in that community is watching this channel by now. I'd almost put money on that one, how that amount of hits we're getting here. Okay, I'll mark that one as red. Steve, I had a late night experience in the Adirondack State Park. Late night whistles, 3 a.m., a few years back. The whistles I heard were not birds nor any animal, four-legged, that I ever heard. While researching it, I've heard similar whistles on YouTube clips described as being Bigfoot in origin, but don't do justice what I heard. The whistles were clear and crisp, each given every 20 seconds, short, but they meant something. This lasted for at least 4 minutes. It was as if someone were calling someone else, like, "Hey, over here." I won't go into the story, but that whole night was interesting and scary in a very funny way, and too long to type out for just the whistling portion of it. Suffice to say, my wife, who is not a believer, is now. The question I have is, this area is known for Bigfoot activity for years, and I had noticed what looked like stone markers on the ground. This area is semi-remote, and I find it odd that there are more than 10, but less than 15 small stacks of rocks. Some of the stacks had, I'm guessing, 45 stones balanced on top of the other, and were placed in different areas on the property and surrounding roads. I thought it would be odd that someone, maybe a man, would do that out in the middle of nowhere for no obvious reason. I was wondering if you have noticed anything similar in your remote travels. I know you're very busy, but I thought I'd try to get a response. Enjoy your channel. Thanks in advance, George Sasquatch. S-U-K-A-C-H. Thanks, George. Thanks for the email. And the whistles are definitely go hand in hand with the Sasquatch sightings. And the stacked rocks. You know where I live? I live in an area called the Sea to Sky area. It's basically a valley drainage highway that goes from Vancouver, British Columbia, inland to Pemberton, British Columbia. And we got lots of people that go mountain biking and backpacking, rock climbing shit, and everybody's into doing those little balanced rock stacks all over the highway at viewpoints along creeks and lakes and stuff like that, and pullouts. But so it's commonly to see that along where there's lots of people around here, rock stacks. But with all the remote places I travel to, getting dropped from bush plane or taking horses or backpacking into whatever, no, I don't see rock stacks. I haven't seen it myself. I haven't seen anything out of place myself, but I also haven't looked for it. And at this stage of the game, to be honest, if I did notice it, I probably would have just shrugged it off and not given it much attention anymore anyway. But that's just me, because I know these things are running around. So, you know, like, as an example, how common they are, directly behind me is basically what is considered the back of Mount Curry, where a few of the First Nations people have told me they don't go there. You just don't go there. And, you know, it's kind of funny. A lot of you people guess, you know, why I position myself where I do when I tell these stories. And yeah, I do place myself where there are numerous sightings, or have been. Probably 100% of the time, except when I'm filming with the horses, I am at places where these beings are. Will one ever walk out behind the camera? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, you guys can see those slides up behind me. That was a ways away, but if there was something ripping across them, you'd see it. And then I could spook myself out a little bit too, like I'm looking behind the cameras, boulders and timber. And there's always that little voice inside my head that's saying, you know, I don't want to look up and see something standing there looking at me. No, I didn't do it. Wouldn't be bad if it ran across that slide behind, right? But anyway, sorry, got a little off track there. But no, I haven't seen any stacked rocks, purposely stacked rocks in the middle of nowhere where I normally go. But I have come across some extremely long poles that were all leaning on a big fir tree. Like, we're talking, you know, wrap your arms around it, huge fir tree in the middle of first growth timber fir that never logged before, and no roads near it. I videotaped it actually. I got it on video. I finally did break down and video it, because it's obvious those poles were put there. There's probably 6 or 8 of them around this frickin' tree, and it's probably about 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 foot poles. I'm not kidding you. It's pretty impressive to see. It's nothing. I mean, you know, if I dig up that video clips to show all you guys, it's just going to be like anything else. Everybody's going to go, cool. Oh yeah, wow. Right? Maybe I will one day for the curious. But it is something else when you look at it and realize the strength it took to throw those poles up. And there are no stumps anywhere on the ground to match up with those cedar poles either. But they're really, really, really old. It's not fresh. It's been there a long time. The first time I noticed them was probably 8 years ago or something. And I've been through that area numerous times since. But that's about the only thing that I've really noticed as far as purposely put, odd objects purposely put that are confusing. But I'm sure there's going to be somebody else out there that has seen what you've seen for sure. But anyway, there you go. There's another one, you guys. They keep coming in, man.